One got the impression that the decision to hike the VAT rate by 2% was kind of almost a last-minute decision by the Treasury, possibly under pressure from within the ANC, that there was not insufficient consultation with other GNU members, and may have followed in the path of the fact that the Bela Bill and the Land Expropriation Bill was pushed through Parliament by the ANC, and that the ANC may have felt that they were still sufficiently powerful to do whatever they wanted, until they realized that in fact every other party would vote against this and that they would not be able to pass the budget as a consequence. And that was an example of the manner in which the GNU is gradually maturing to force the participants to start consulting with one another to generate consensus decisions rather than unilateral decisions by a so-called ruling party, which no longer really exists. And the important message is that South Africa is now a really vibrant democracy, which distinguishes itself from many other emerging markets and even developed economies. And to that extent it is becoming a poster boy for democratic emerging markets. And I think that in itself could be a very big advantage going forward for the country. The market reaction was not all that great. The rand depreciated by about 7 cents in the wake of the announcement of the postponement. But what we've seen, it's come back all the way, and the currency is stronger now than it was a few weeks ago, which if you use the rand as a proxy for market reaction, then that tells you that there was very little negative market reaction to this all. And also we've seen the JSE hitting new all-time highs. So people are recognizing that there is some very positive messages to be drawn. The other positive message to be drawn is that the spat over increasing the VAT rate came as a result of attempts on the part of the government to effect fiscal austerity, and that is very well received by financial markets. That the government doesn't know how to balance its needs to address some expenditure needs to uplift the poorer sections of society, whilst at the same time not wanting to raise taxes too much. But that means that they're very aware of the need to not pursue populist philosophies, and that is precisely what credit ratings agencies and bond investors are looking for. And as a result, our long-term interest rates have come down over the last year or so, in line with a strengthening in the rand, and that in itself could create a virtuous circle of reducing government's debt servicing costs, allowing for more expenditure on other vital areas. The alternatives are looking for alternative sources of tax revenue, or reducing government expenditure in certain areas, such as not granting as much of an increase in public sector wages or as much of an increase in social grants as they've agreed upon, or reallocating expenditure from one area to another so as to generate more efficient expenditure wherever they can, or alternatively to borrow more, which I think is quite unpopular at the moment in terms of the potential market reaction. Well, the negative implications of the delay are that some people will say that there is a lack of cohesion within the Government of National Unity, and that they might see this as a threat of a collapse in the GNU, which would be a disaster for everyone, including market reaction. Because if the GNU were to collapse, there'd be a resurrection of fears of a populist government in South Africa being formed, which would cause the rand to plummet, inflation to rise sharply, interest rates to stop falling or maybe to even rise and the like. The belief in improved economic growth really lies in the belief that some of the structural attempts at overcoming some of the structural impediments to economic growth, such as logistical bottlenecks, such as water problems, will result in a big increase in investment in the country that can help to lift growth. In addition, there is the hope and belief that inflation will remain subdued, and as a consequence interest rates will fall further and support consumer spending and other areas of economic growth that way as well. But just to put it into perspective, we're not looking for a major increase in growth, but just a modest improvement from less than 1% to something closer to 2%, not more than that. The government is hoping to try and maybe achieve 3%. Together with achievement of that would really lie in seeing real implementation of many of the investment reforms that have been announced. In the last few years, people can be forgiven for being skeptical as to whether we will see the full manifestation of such pledges to invest being reflected in actual activity. In the last few years, there have been lots of promises of additional infrastructural investment, but the results have been relatively disappointing. And that is why people are reluctant to forecast even higher growth than what has been put into the numbers, 1.8%. It's not a huge number. One of the reasons for the lack of implementation is completely discord at local government level in many instances, due to the legacy of cadre deployment and the fact that many people within local government are political appointees and not there because of their competence and their ability and education. And that would require a turnaround to which, if it were to materialize, could actually see much higher growth rates being achieved. You are correct in suggesting that a delay in the budget may result in a delay in certain investment processes, but in the broader scheme of things, 3 weeks is not a huge amount of time in the context of a whole year, and so I wouldn't say that that's a major reason to be pessimistic about the implications of what we've seen.